Where did they start? Where did we come from? Huh? Thank you. We came from Africa. So all of us, somewhere in our heritage, trace back to Africa. So what I wanted to do is show you all, for the Fergusons, how our lineage came from Africa and where it came. And this is what this shows. So our journey starts in Ghana. You see that? Y'all see that? Y'all, hey Tyler, you looking? Man, you wait somewhere here. All right, we start in Ghana, okay, and then we come from Ghana. That for me, my great grandmother had children by a white slave master, and that was in Virginia, okay. And then they migrated from Virginia through the Carolinas, through Georgia, to Marion, Alabama. And we can trace our roots all the way back to Marion, Alabama when we go through the historical records. And so she had children, Silas Ferguson Sr., and she also had some children by a Hunt master. And so this is how the Ferguson and the Hunts became cousins, because Silas Ferguson Sr. and Mac Hunt were half brothers. So, and then you see a graphic how did in 1848, y'all see that? In 1848, that they sailed down the Tombigbee River to the Alabama River, westward in the Gulf of Mexico, and sailed up the Mississippi River to the Washita River. How many of y'all know what the Washita River is? Anybody ever heard of that? Not the local. No, Today, when you all came from Monroe up here, that bridge, high bridge you crossed, that was the Washita River. Now, about 5 miles north of that point, 5 to 10 miles, there was a place called the Alabama Landing. That's where the settlers landed, at the Alabama Landing. Now, I was going to take you down there, but I understand the backwater is up, and it's over the road, so we couldn't get the bus down there. I wanted to show you that. So they settled on the Alabama Landing, then they traveled overland to this little town called Marion, Louisiana, which was 3 miles south of here. You all probably won't call it a town, but that's where it is, Marion, Alabama. All the city folks, you wouldn't recognize that as a town, but that's what we call it. It's a little town of Marion, Louisiana.
It was established in 1883.
No, you off on that. Hey, you need a graphic. You need a graphic.
In 1832 on that sign.
Yeah, right, 1830, in the 1830s. They settled in Marion, and then what we saw, and this graphic shows that, all right, and explains all of that, okay? And some of the things that we find, and from there in Marion, our grandfather, as well as great-grandfather, the Hunts were carpenters. You all passed a great big white house on the right that was built in the 1840s. And that house was built with wooden nails. You ever heard of wooden nails? What didn't have metal nails, it was wooden nails. That's called the Hopkins house. That still stands today. Okay? Now, how did we end up where we are now? In 1910, and you'll see that right here, that our grandfather, Silas Ferguson, was born in Marion, Louisiana, and he married Katie Mitchell, and they had 20 children. All right? They settled in 1910. They settled right over there, right through the woods. That's where their house was. On that, when you all are traveling down those back roads, you pass right by the house seat of where they settled. In 1910, President William Taft granted my grandfather Silas Jr. 80 acres of land, gave it to him, 80 acres of land just for settling it. So he settled that got that in 1910. That land stayed in the family until 1927. Our grandfather lost that to taxes. In the 1980s, me and my brother bought it back from the company that owned that. And so that's still in the family heritage. And you stand on Ferguson property, and where's Jeff? Carla? And so we were all family. So all this is Ferguson property. Right behind us, right over there, is the Wayne property. And Jeff, Carla, Jeff's daddy and mom, they raised, there was 17?
17 of them.
Oh, Jeff's mom and dad had 17. Jeff is you talking about grandmama had 20. And his mother had 17 kids. And they were raised just across the woods. That's neighbors. And that's how we knew Jeff and the Waynes. We all grew up together. All right? And we still, that's where that heritage comes from. And so right now, that 80 acres of granddaddy's of his, and my mom and dad moved here and they bought acreage. And so all of this is still in the family. And we have about 180 acres of land that's here, that's ours today. And so this is the heritage. We got James, Charles, Raynell, what's Tyrone? Tyrone, that's what she. Okay, they are all my nieces and nephews, and they were raised right here. Now I was born right down there. As soon as you make that curve and come up the hill, that's where I was born. That's where our family house was. And James, Charles, Raynell, they were all born in the hospital, but they basically raised right here. And that house coming up on the left, that trailer house, that's where their dad, my brother Johnny, he stayed here and he raised his family, and we settled that today. Now, a little more family history. I had a brother named Ivory that passed away 10 years ago. He had a house sitting right out there in that flat. And so when he passed away, my brother Chester and I got this property here, and we tore that house down and we built this. So this is where we end up today. But this is a map that shows we're traced back to Africa. In our case, Ghana. The reason we know it's Ghana is we had a DNA sampling done, and our family roots trace back to Ghana. Now, it's other parts of Africa, from other, they brought slaves more than just Ghana, but from West Africa. But in our case, we trace back to Ghana. So that's what I wanted to share with y'all. And look, land, it's important. I want y'all to get this, because you all are growing up. Whatever you all do, buy some land. Is the thing for me is, this is land I was raised on, and we still have it in the family. So many people don't realize the value of land because that comes from legacy, heritage. A statistic, in 1910, black folks owned over 15 million acres of land in the United States. That was 1910. 100 years later, in 2010, black just gave away the land through persecution, white folks running them off, losing it for taxes, didn't realize the value, they just got rid of land. In 2010, 100 years later, blacks own it's all just about 5 million acres. That's 2/3 of their heritage. They just let go away. And so it's important as you go on, and instead of renting a house, buy your house, own your land. And in investment, land multiplies, grows in investment. My brother and I in Chester, We bought the land for family heritage, but also as an investment to grow trees on it. The land from 1985 when we bought it, the land paid for itself. What we paid for it, we got that back, and it has paid for itself 3 times, and it continues to grow. So whatever you do, always just think about when you're planning, when you're buying, buy you some land, and you'll be able to have a place to go back to. So that's our heritage. You got any questions? Yeah. What's your name? Huh? Memphis.
Yes, sir.
All right, like Memphis, Tennessee?
No, sir.
Like what?
M-E-N-P-H-I-S.
M-E-N. All right, Memphis. Okay, all right, come on, go ahead.
I'm looking at the business side of it. So the more land you have, the more, like underneath it, it's a lot of hidden gems underneath it.
Yeah, in terms of minerals, when you buy land, you also have, you got mineral rights. And so when you get land, get your mineral rights too, because you never know what's under there. In this area, it's oil in this area. And even, a few years ago, they were exploring for oil, and they bought the mineral rights for like 3 years. And they paid you so much per acre to just to research oil. Now, they didn't find anything yet. That lease is expired. We still own the land, but they paid us to be able to look for oil. Now, if they had found oil, then they would have paid you royalties for pumping it out of the ground. So, yes, most definitely, man. Good question. Anybody else?
But it is a known fact that Union Parish, this area
Oh, this
right
is
here,
hold on. This is Carl. So y'all all know.
this area right here has the richest
Y'all
oil
listen,
find that
listen.
they found in the United States.
Say
they
that
said
again, Carl.
This area right here, they has the richest oil find that they found in the United States. And so that they said that if you have land here, that you better not sell it for anything, because they're gonna find oil. If they haven't found it all yet, but it is here. And so this place is gonna be totally different in the next 10 to 20 years. And that's what we've been told. But I have relatives on the other side of Marion. They actually did find oil there, and they have been paid for it.
Yeah. So it's, it's great. Anybody else? Questions? Questions? Y'all ask some questions. Jeff is a historian. Jeff, come on, talk to him a little about history. Charles is a historian. Come on, y'all talk to him.
Go ahead, Charles. You talk.
Come on, talk.
Go ahead.
Come on, Charles, talk up. Come on up here.
Well, I'm gonna since
Now
we
y'all
were talking,
be quiet.
his brother Johnny that he mentioned, he was my employer probably since I was 11 years old. And you all going out to the logging business tomorrow. We did this business kind of 1920 style. We didn't have a tractor. We had a mule, well, some mules, and a lot of times we loaded it by hand, but we did the same job that the guys have all the equipment today. And a lot of times, you didn't have the credit back then to be able to go and get the sophisticated equipment. But we grew up, we wasn't quitters. And sometimes sticking with things, getting that education, hanging in there, it looked like it's gonna get tough, but you can finish. And trust me, you look around, a lot of kids will think, nah, I can't do that. Don't have that confidence. Look around in your church. Look at those same people. They were just like you. They wasn't born with a spoon in their mouth. They had to work. I have a son, and I'm going to be honest. I didn't think I could play professional ball. I could play college ball because I didn't know anybody that did. And that kind of, I better not take that risk. Don't do that. My dad believed in hard work. He didn't believe in sports. I played sports in high school, but I just didn't know anybody that I knew that made it. And I always emphasized to my son, you can do it. And to this day, y'all heard of Reggie Wayne?
Yes.
Reggie Wayne talks to my son probably 2 or 3 times a week. I said, Jalen, look at Reggie. He was a little Wayne boy just like you. My son wanted to quit college because he was upset as a freshman. He couldn't start. Reggie told him, you are doing great. They didn't redshirt you. You got to play. And kids don't listen to their fathers after they get a certain age. They think we are dumb. I thought my daddy didn't know nothing either when I was y'all age. But when you get older, you're going to look back. Oh man, it wasn't so dumb after all. When you start to understand those things. And Reggie is doing that for my son. He's bridging that gap. Find that person that you can talk to in your church if you don't think you can talk to your parents. And they will bring you through. And I'm not going to talk y'all to death because I can get long-winded. Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'm 59. And I'm going to tell you something. I quit playing basketball about 4 years ago. I used to go to college and play with the boys. I take my son. They thought he was already a college student. He was just 8th grade. But I done got a little fat and chubby. But I can still get around. Any other questions? Go ahead, Charles. Sir Charles.
Well, basically, at this age that y'all are right now, I mean, you really, these days is how you make history as you live, really. Basically, as you live and see it right now, you make your own history. But as we grew up right around here in the same place, basically we just like a family, like just like sometimes like his father, he worked for my dad, and we went to work for his dad and stuff like that. People always have looked out for each other around here. Just like the church that y'all seen, my grandfather and grandmother and his mother and my daddy, everybody worshiped together and did everything together right around in the same settlement right here. And you know, there's something that's being togetherness. I mean, that's one thing about history, you know, that's we always have did. And basically, like I said, we did things kind of the hard way around here. Like my dad believed in the values of hard work, but that name carries you on. I mean, just the other day, I went to go see my dad in a nursing home, and a guy stopped me that knowed me. He said, you know what, I had 3 guys come in and talk to your dad and said that your daddy was a hard-working man. He raised y'all the same way. I said, you know, I mean, he made it where he showed us the values. As far as my dad, he showed us the values of hard work and everything. And my mother and stuff like that, she always had cooked and all this here. She showed just like my baby brother and just like his mom showed him, you know, about cooking and stuff and being together as a family. And family is always important, no matter what. I mean, coming together, we always look forward to seeing each other, and, you know, and don't get them spoiled. You know, make sure you, if you do something for them, you got to keep it up. Don't start that you can't finish. You can't keep it up, don't start it.
That's right. All right. Always finish. Always finish.
Always keep it up.
Always keep it up.
But right now, if y'all, this is, y'all really are sitting on some very historic and really holy grounds right now. Because it came from a bunch of long lines, spiritual people from the Waynes, the Fergusons, and you had the Andrews, and we all, you know, been raised up right here together. And like I said, we always have been a great big family. We really don't consider each other as friends. It's just one big family.
Okay.
We're going to turn it back over in the hands of Bishop.
All right. Now, I was just, any questions? Go ahead right there.
Oh, this is no question. You know, I'm speaking on the same thing Charles is speaking on. I was talking to Jeffrey's son-in-law yesterday. He said, y'all can't have no good time if folks out of time come. I'm like, no. This is what we do. The Waynes and the Fergusons, they same name Charles said. This is us. We just like brothers and sisters. My grandpa and his dad now, they, you know, this, that, I never forget. Mr. Tyler told me, my grandpa said, when you take care of my family, like Johnny and Grandma Bess and stuff, he done that. I just want you to know the Waynes and the Ferguson is just like brothers and sisters. We are family. All of this here is not us, it's us. That's what I just want to say, and give all of them their respect.
Well, she's right. They wasn't no relation to me. And you know, it wasn't very many girls around here that I could date, because all of them was my cousins. But they were like sisters to me. So you couldn't hit on them. But we were, even though we were related, they was just like family.
Well, you know what? After all that went through, it went down to my kid and his daughter. She stayed in my house just like my daughter. Okay? It's never going to stop. The Wayne and Ferguson never going to stop. On this rich land. I just want y'all to know that. This is a close-knit family. And you know, everybody.
I know y'all would like to hear, y'all understand y'all want to hear this from the bishop, but really, that's the pastor. Y'all might say, well, the rest of them didn't say anything. But I do want to tell y'all, I appreciate y'all willing to come down and share our heritage with us.
Yeah, indeed. That's what it's so well.
I don't know why Melvin stayed back.
Come on up here, Melvin.
And not saying anything.
Come on over here, Melvin.
Because he's part
Yeah. Hey, where you think I got this can from?
But yeah, now in terms of races, understand our slave, my slave great grandmother had children by a white man. So my great granddaddy was half white. Okay, my granddaddy, that's if you hadn't seen my family, but half of my family is light skinned and half is dark like me. You know, I have sisters that if they were white folks, you would think that they were white. So I have brothers. I have a brother, Ted, when he was in the Army, and he was coming home one time in Texas, that he had on his uniform, and so the white folks let him sit in the white section, and they made all the black soldiers go to the back room. And so when they saw him sitting up in the white section, the guys started saying, man, what, you know, they got him on their stuff and said, man, what in the world are you doing? You supposed to be back there with us. He told him, look, shut up, man. Don't get me in any trouble. So, you know, that is so many. How many of you all, a whole lot of you all know it. Y'all got sisters and brothers, light skin, dark skin. That's just the way, you understand, that's the way, you know. That, yeah.
Did y'all see this bus driver talking to my brother? But he got blue eyes. I don't know if where that came in at, but you know, it's down the line. You know, we are all mixed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen. If we don't have any more questions, we're gonna let you disperse. I know we have to start getting ready to go, but we want everybody to clean up, pick up paper, clean up your trash.